You're going to want to check out episode number 272 with Mark Fetto. So Mark is one of these guys who happened to be there at the front end of so many things. Early in Vari-Lite, Morpheus, he has spent time at the Obie Company. He was actually at the video shoot where Michael Jackson got his hair caught on fire from some pyro. And then he was brought in to start a lighting division with OSA. And so Mark is a great guy, first and foremost. He's been around since the late 70s in our industry. He's taught and been taught some very valuable lessons, and is just a really good guy, very interesting guy. So I hope you love this episode. I think it's a good one, and enjoy. Today's podcast, episode number 272, is brought to you by ACT Entertainment. ACT have just shown us the new Ayrton Mobile Manager app, a game changer for lighting professionals. With this app on your phone, you can easily adjust fixture settings like address, universe, and network settings, as well as access crucial systems info, such as software version, LED hours, and even error logs. And there's no need for external power or internal batteries in the fixture when you do this. It's fast, convenient, and designed to keep you moving through your prep and stay on top of your rig. Check out the Ayrton Mobile Manager app today and get a little peek into the future at actentertainment.com. And today's podcast is also brought to you by Ultimate Support. Ultimate Support are excited to announce they are now shipping the VMC-T-T Venue Series mic stand. This new standard height telescoping boom stand brings Ultimate Support's dependability and style to the mic stand format. Countless venues and crews depend on them to be road ready, and this will happily fit into existing touring mic cases alongside existing stands. Venue Series mic stands from Ultimate Support give you everything you expect from a touring mic stand, alongside better materials, better quality, and at a better price. Check out the Venue Series today, VMC-T-T at ultimatesupport.com, and learn more. Mark, how are you?
Hi, Marcel.
What's happening, man?
How you doing?
It's been a weird couple of weeks. So we were up in Canada at my house in the Canadian Rockies, and these hurricanes kept blowing through Florida and North Carolina and Georgia and all that stuff. And so there was one about to hit Florida, Milton, and I live in Palm Beach.
Right.
And so it was like Palm Beach down here, it was hitting up here and on the West Coast, Tampa. So no worries. None of my neighbors put up hurricane shutters or anything. We weren't here. My girlfriend's son was here at the house. And so she had him on the phone, and she was like, okay, make sure you pull in the little planters that are outside the door and stuff, because
all the loose stuff.
Although the storm isn't going to hit us, it'll get a bit windy. Pull in some of that loose. So he goes outside the front door, and he sees a funnel cloud in front of him, and he's like, holy shit. So then he's like pulling to try and close the front door to get back in the house. And he literally ran into the laundry room and just kind of ducked down as it was going, and
that's insane.
So yeah, we lost a screened-in patio. We lost almost all of our trees, our garage door, one window smashed in.
Wow. And who would have thought in Florida? I mean,
part of our roof is gone. So we've got a blue tarp over our roof now, the standard Florida attire.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've been here 31, 32 years and never anything like this at all. Like, I've been hit by some hurricanes sort of indirectly, but never anything like this. It's just bizarre. So
the weather's just been insane.
Yeah. So,
I mean, everywhere. I mean, here this summer in Las Vegas was
yeah.
brutally hot
Oh,
for
well,
a
that never
brutally long
happens.
time. No, I mean, it really, it not like it was this year. We had something like 110 days in a row over 100 degrees and
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
30, some of them over 110. It was,
Yeah.
yeah, the weather's gone wacky everywhere.
Yeah. I think, at the end of the day, like every time friends of mine will bring up, global warming or whatever without getting political,
Hmm.
um, I just say, you know what? We're flying around space on a rock lit by a gas ball. And, what could possibly go wrong?
Yeah,
I mean, every once in a while, there's a little wiggle, a little wobble, and that could be an earthquake, a
yeah,
hurricane. That could be all kinds of things.
you just
And
don't know.
so, be happy we're here for however long we're here until, a big enough rock hits
Just
us or
keep
something.
riding it
And
out.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, it's been a weird couple of weeks dealing with adjusters and insurance companies. Like one thing I didn't know, my girlfriend and I were talking about this. 25 years I paid insurance and never filed a claim.
Hmm.
And same with her. 25 years she's paid insurance, never filed a claim. And so we don't even know what the process is like. We don't know anything
Right.
about it. So the insurance company sends an adjuster out who was basically 100% useless, didn't look at the roof. So meanwhile, it's raining into our attic for 2 weeks because
Oh,
this adjuster didn't look at the roof and, barely took pictures and stuff. So then they sent another adjuster out because the insurance company went, well, we don't have enough information here. And so the other adjuster came out and went, wow, you have holes in your roof. We need to put a tarp up there. And then all these private adjusters hang these door hangers on your door saying, hey, call us, we'll get you more money. Hey, call us, we'll get you more
oh,
money.
of
So
course.
I called a friend of mine who's actually in the disaster recovery business. And I said, what should we do? And he said, let me give you a name. And he gave me a guy who's a builder and who is going to do all of our work for us. And that guy gave us a private adjuster and he said, deal with no one but this person. He will sue your insurance company. He'll fight with your insurance company because what happens is they'll write you a check for 50 grand and send you on your way. And you go out and try and hire contractors and it's 125.
Right. Yeah.
So then
Don't settle.
yeah, don't settle, don't sign anything. And so we've just hired this independent contractor, private adjuster and the contractor and stuff. So yeah, it's just been a pain in the ass. It's been a pain in the
Natural
ass.
disasters, one after the other like that.
It is crazy.
They'll
Yeah.
hire whoever they can to come in, and so they got a body. That's all they need.
Yeah, well, and there's just a lot of ambulance chasers,
Oh
because
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
the way the tornado cut through our neighborhood, it's really bizarre, but there's probably, I don't know, about 15, 16 houses that got hammered and then nobody else, like their garbage can didn't even tip over. My barbecue went from the backyard to the front yard.
Ooh,
you know,
ooh.
I mean, I was like, where's the barbecue? Because they sent me a bunch of pictures and he goes, oh, it's over here in the front yard. I'm like, what? So,
Yeah.
yeah, it was pretty crazy. So, anyways, thank you for doing this, Mark. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Glad we finally got the opportunity to do it.
I've been trying since pre-COVID.
Yeah, yeah,
That's sort of like, you know, BC and AD
yeah. Exactly.
is before
It's
COVID,
2
after
years
COVID.
that just went away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like it's a line drawn in the sand. What was before COVID? What was since COVID?
Yeah.
And our industry is a contrast of that for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
How you handled things before COVID and how you're handling it since. Very, very different. Very different business.
It is. Things have
So
changed.
you've been doing this for a while.
In a little while, about 45 years.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
it was longer. Actually, I think it's longer than that. You said 1970. You sent me some notes, and you said 1970.
Oh no, yeah, no.
I don't know where that note came from
It was
specifically.
79 was the first year that I got involved. And back then you didn't have to know a whole lot. You more had to know somebody.
Yeah.
Which is how I wound up, get involved in this.
How'd that happen?
I graduated from college with my degree in my associate degree in electrical technology. Moved to California, started fixing CB radios at the end of a production line at a CB radio factory in California, Harbor City.
Yeah, you're old when you worked on CB radios.
That was at the height of the CB craze.
Yeah,
and
I wanted one so bad when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I didn't know why. I would have just had old trucker guys perving out on me or something, because I was like 6 or 7 going, I want a CB radio.
Yeah.
I wanted one bad.
So my supervisor brings a guy in one day, says, hey, because I'm originally from Buffalo, New York.
Yeah.
Says, hey, this guy's from Buffalo too, and we start talking, and we know mutual people, but we've never met. Our fathers knew each other back in the old neighborhood, the old Italian neighborhood in Buffalo. Yeah. So we started running. He didn't have a car. His name's Jim Pace.
Okay.
And he didn't have a car, so I'd pick him up on my motorcycle every morning and take us into work. And then every Friday afternoon, I would take him to an audio company called Tycho Brahe. He was into bands and that kind of thing, and he wanted to get into this. I'd never done so much as a high school play.
Yeah.
And every Friday I'd drop him off at Tycho Brahe so he could, work on them to get a gig, which he finally did. He went out and he quit the CB radio fixing business and went and did he got hired by Tycho Brahe, went out and did a Black Sabbath tour.
Oh,
and
wow.
Through that, I got to meet other people, one of them being Dave Oberman of Obie's Lighting Production.
Wow.
And they used to have what they called the South Bay Roadie Association. So on Sunday afternoons, they'd lay out string for the outline of a football field, and we'd play football down at Hermosa Beach.
Wow.
So I got to know Obie through that, and got bored with what I was doing. Told him that, hey, I could never figure out what Jim was doing because we wanted to be roommates. And I'm like, you never know when you're working. You're never sure what's going on. And to me, that was just weird. I didn't.
Yeah.
But then I see he's traveling all over the place. I'm like, man, I ain't doing nothing else. I'm 22 years old. I'm like, hey, if you got a spot, I'd be interested. So about a month later, Obie gives me a call. And so I go in, give my notice, and I go in and on a Monday morning, 8 a.m., and I'm working in the shop, helping a guy restring a cable on a super tower. I've never seen any of this, but I'm pretty mechanical.
Yeah.
And helping him do that. And about 2 hours in, we finish this, and Obie calls me over the PA. Hey, Fetto, come up to my office.
Yeah.
So I go upstairs. Hey, what's up? He says, you want to go do a tour? Well,
2 hours into your first day in the industry.
I have done 2 hours of
that is
doing
hilarious.
my shop duty here.
I'm quite experienced.
Next day I was up in Hollywood at Gino Vanelli rehearsals. And went out and did that tour. Bob Gordon was the lighting designer for that.
No way.
Yeah. So my first tour was with Bob Gordon. First crew chief that I had, I was the third man on the crew, and Steve Jackson was who was with Cat forever.
Of course, yeah.
And he's the one that taught me about how those cables needed to look like water flowing, and how everything needed to be neat and tidy, and and that's how I did once. It was not too long before I was crew chiefing my own stuff. And
so you were in rehearsals in Hollywood for how long? Like
couple of weeks,
So that was your entire sort of indoctrination into the industry, was that 2 weeks?
Yeah.
And then you're on a bus.
Yeah.
And what was that like?
Oh, again, 22 years old. I was.
Yeah, you were in heaven.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So, I think it was about the 4th show into the tour. We're doing a show, and it's like a 7-camera shoot in New Orleans, and all of a sudden during the shoot, Bob Gordon's yelling, the follow spots aren't reacting. The follow spots aren't, something's wrong with the communication. And Steve runs up into the booth, and all of a sudden you hear, the rattle, 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 the headset, and Steve comes on and goes, well, the follow spot operators aren't here is why they're not reacting. Well, what's going on?
No.
Meanwhile, the show's still happening.
What?
Well, they're being arrested.
Why?
They'd been selling drugs out of the follow spot booth before the show.
Oh, my
And the cops came and busted them during the show. So we had to run the follow spots for the rest of the video shoot. Or actually, I think it was filmed back then. So that was like one of my indoctrinations into
that is hilarious.
the business. On my first week out on the road.
So did you have to go run follow spots?
Yeah, I don't think I actually did because I didn't know how. Again.
Yeah.
And the other two guys did.
Yeah.
But it was
crazy. That's a funny story.
And Bob still brings that story up every time I see him at LDI.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's a crazy story. I love that one. You're going to see Bob, by the way, because you're, by the way, everyone, Mark Fetto is officially a dinosaur.
Oh, yeah.
So you're doing this dining with dinosaurs thing that we're doing at LDI, and Bob is also there. Bob Gordon
great.
will be there. So
I'm sure he'll tell
fun.
the story then too.
Yeah, he hasn't told me that one. He's told me some good stories, but not that one.
Yeah.
Bob, here's a funny story for you. Bob was supposed to record last week. And you have to have Chrome. And man, I became an IT guy for about 3 days with Bob. He kept texting me and saying, how do I do this? How do I do this? And so I finally convinced him, showed him how to download Chrome. And because his operating system on his Mac was so old, it couldn't work the version of Chrome that he downloaded. It wouldn't work. It wouldn't open. And so he's like, so what do I do? And I'm like, well, you got to upgrade your operating system. You got to bring it up to date. And he goes, so how do I do that? And I'm like, Bob, have you got a cell phone? And he goes, yeah. I go, what kind of phone? It's an iPhone. Oh, tell you what, download the app for our podcast and we'll do it on your phone. So he downloads the app. And then, of course, he can't figure out how to log into the thing. Not. And so I just said, you know what, Bob? Let's just talk at the show. We'll just do this later. Because I just ran out of time. And I love Bob. I love his stories. I love his spirit.
Oh yeah.
But he's now behaving like an old guy and not knowing how to work his. How do you work these damn things? These kids these days.
That sounds familiar. I mean,
from the guy who sold some of the most complicated lighting consoles on earth for a long time.
He couldn't run one today. I mean, that's like me. I used to be a hotshot programmer for Vari-Lite. Now I can barely turn on a console. It's just,
wouldn't know.
It gets away from you. The technology has changed so much.
But, the other thing is Bob, similar to me, I guess, is a relationship guy where it's more about the network and the communication and all that stuff than it is about my technical skills. Because if I had to make a career on technical skills, I'd be living in a cardboard box.
That's what they build kids for now.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it's
Robert
different.
Robert Mokry used to always tell me, Marcel, you really should learn more about the technology and the what's in these lights and stuff. And I'm like, what for? I sell more than you do. So I'm good, man. I'm fine. I can sell a lot of lights. I don't have to know what's in them. I just need to know, like, what was John Wiseman's famous line when somebody said, were you there?
I've been on the receiving end of some of those when I was programming.
Oh,
go ahead. What was his line?
He was on a panel, and I can't remember if it was LDI or what it was, but they asked him, John, what's the difference between the VL5 and the VL6? And he goes, about $50.
Well, I used to be, program when I was programming. I started. After been at Obie's for a while, and that I did a tour with Toto and Zeb Cochran. They had Vari-Lites, and Zeb Cochran was the operator.
Yeah,
and he, was one that was really responsible for me getting hired by Vari-Lite. I got hired over the phone by Vari-Lite, and that never happened.
Yeah,
but it was on Zeb's recommendation. But so you'd be, program. John would sell a show with this is the days of VL1s, and that was pretty rudimentary stuff for moving light, for what you have now.
Yeah.
And the the client would say, well, John said you could make these things sing and dance and perform a pirouette. And I'm like, well, then John better get over here and tell me how to do it, because I can't make these lights do that.
Yeah, that's funny.
He had no idea what they could do.
No, of course not. Still doesn't.
And then we would.
But who sold more lights than him?
Bail them out, make it look good, and move on to another show.
So true. So true. How long did you stay at Obie's?
Till about. Well, it was kind of. I guess I started doing stuff for Vari-Lite around 84. Mike Swinford, another, original Obie guy.
Yeah.
He had given me my first. I had, my whole thing was no matter what I was doing, I wanted to take the next step.
Mm-hmm.
And what, even, third guy cable crew, humping cable.
Yeah.
I couldn't wait to get my hand. Sorry.
It's all right.
Timed lighting. In the motion sensor.
Yeah.
But I couldn't. I loved that, watching the guys run the show, and that's what I want to do. So any opportunity I had, I would run a board for an opening act, do that. Didn't care if they paid you or not. I just wanted to learn that stuff.
Yeah.
And Swinford wound up giving me my first LD gig, which was Kenny Loggins. So I had taken that out. So that was like in 84, 85 when I started doing that. And then I wound up becoming I turned into the lighting designer for the Moody Blues, and did them for, till I think it was like 1990. I turned it over to Zeb. But
you moved up the ranks pretty quickly.
I did. I think, had the aptitude, whatever.
Yeah.
And during that time, I was kind of working for both, as independent, working for both Vari-Lite and Obie.
Okay.
And then, actually, when I did the Moody's, I was, they paid me. I was independent, but that was through Obie.
Yeah.
And wound up in, I guess it was 89. Vari-Lite was going to open the office in L.A. And they moved me. It's the time I was living in Denver. I had lived in L.A. originally, and then moved to Boulder, actually, Colorado, for a while.
Yeah.
6-7 years. What a great place to be when you're not touring. It was perfect.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
And the Moody's were that, the European take off 3 weeks in August for their holiday.
Yeah.
So in the middle of summer touring, boom, I got 3 weeks off, paid at home.
That's nice.
You couldn't ask for better than that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Vari-Lite was going to open the LA office, and they moved me to LA to help them with that, and open that office. So that's when I became a full-time employee of
and that was
Vari-Lite.
when? That was in 89?
Well, actually 88 was when they moved me to LA to help open up that. And then I was in LA for, I think it was 1 year, 3 months, 4 days, 12 hours, 27 minutes, 30 seconds. I couldn't stand being back. After being in Colorado, I hated being back in LA. And I was doing so much work up in Vegas. Come on, man, you got to open the office, got to open up. And Vari-Lite wound up making me the manager, and we opened up the Vari-Lite office in
Vegas.
Las Vegas in 89. But in 88, when I'd moved out there, Tom Duncan owned Stage Call, and Stage Call pretty much exclusively moved the Vari-Lite gear around, because you couldn't move that stuff in anything but air ride, and that was a rare thing back then, and all that.
Yeah.
So the original warehouse for Vari-Lite in LA was Tom Duncan's warehouse, and I used to have to go out there and tech lights. And I would have to wait for his son, Philip, to get off of high school to come and help me flip down cases so that I could tech lights out in La Habra.
Wild. That's
and
wild.
And then eventually they brought in Jimmy Barnett to manage the LA office. And so I did a lot of television stuff and that, for that year and a half I was out there, did a lot of work with Kieran Healy, did American Bandstand with Lee Rose.
Wow.
Did Top of the Pops with Kieran Healy. And, Kieran was kind of grooming me to become a television LD. Same thing you did with Tommy Beck. And that was the point where I made the decision of moving to Vegas and becoming a management instead of staying,
Why was that?
doing shows. Just, I've been traveling and doing so much, for so many years. It was just time. I got married in '88.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of time.
Priorities changed. Yeah.
And then as it turned out, opening up the office in Vegas was a lot of fun, and it was me and one other guy basically, and we did all the shows and teched all the lights and did everything, and then I wound up moving up through the ranks at Vari-Lite and becoming the dealer manager, and we're on the product development committee and a couple other things, and I wound up turning that office, the Vegas office, to Todd Mertzel.
Okay.
And I became the general manager of North American operations for Vari-Lite.
Oh, wow.
And
that's a big title.
Apparently Rusty Boucher and Lauren Haas saw something in me that I didn't know. So I wound up being about the number 3 guy at Vari-Lite for a time.
Damn.
And
that was when? That was now the 90s, right? Sometime early 90s, early to mid 90s.
And I can't remember. We were supposed to move to Dallas, and some things changed, and wound up a year and a half later, I was no longer there, and that was 2001.
Oh, wow.
Just before, so I went independent back to doing, whatever, programming, project managing, whatever.
Yeah.
And just before 9/11, which, had its own set of repercussions for our business.
It certainly did, yeah.
But, so it was, I don't know, it wound up, I'd still thank Rusty Boucher for, taking that turn and getting away from, I was still programming stuff when I moved to Vegas, but they moved me up to the, in the management team there. And
that's very cool.
That was, like I said, he and Lauren Haas, I've got them to thank for as far as I've gotten.
Well, and that was when Vari-Lite was still Vari-Lite too. Like, that was before they became part of the Philips organization, and
it was the best job you could possibly have at the time.
Yeah.
It was everybody, that was the Rolex.
Yeah.
Right? The Vari-Lite, everybody was chasing us. Everybody.
Yeah.
It
was the shit.
It was fantastic, and until it went public.
Yeah.
And then the whole character of the company changed.
Yeah, then you're just chasing quarters and, chasing sales.
Well, at that point, that's when I was the general manager of North American operations, and I went from, I was basically managing the 8 U.S. offices, and my job turned into, every 2 weeks I was turning in, sales reports for the bank.
Yeah,
and
P&Ls.
We went from we went from being having a 1-year, 3-year, 5-year plan to all that matters with the quarterly reports.
Yeah,
quarterlies were all that mattered.
I hate that stuff.
And it it just completely changed the complexion of the company.
Yeah,
but, they had to get it was just a lot of fun being there during the whole growth period. And then during that time also we developed VLPS as a Oh, sorry, you were frozen on my screen there.
Yeah, and you were on mine as well, so we'll
weird.
Edit that part. Make a note, Sarah. Yeah. Well, the thing is, when companies go public and when companies bring in private equity and all of those things, like, it's easy to beat everybody up for doing it. There are different reasons to do it. But one thing I would guess is that Vari-Lite today, if we had the sort of financial situations today that we didn't have back then, they would have been a different company because, they would have had access to incredible amounts of capital, and they may not have had to or wanted to go public, and they may have just done a completely different deal for a different reason. But,
Well, I mean, I think that was mainly, there was a number of owners that had got in very on the ground floor, Genesis, basically.
Yeah.
That, were
Wanted
looking for cashing out.
Yeah.
And that was really the only way, because it had grown so much and become so much bigger than when it started.
Yeah.
I mean, that was done on a handshake and $500,000 deal.
Yeah.
So it started it. But,
But you're right, though. It was the cat's meow. Like it was the Vari-Lite business card probably got you, into a lot of places that, my shitty Martin business card wouldn't have got you into,
It was fun. I mean, like I said, it was great. We worked our asses off, but it was the greatest place to work. It was, like I said, I'm not exactly sure how I got where I got.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rusty. But I'm really grateful for the opportunities they presented me and where it's gone.
Yeah. So where'd you go when that ended? So that was 2001, you said?
Yeah. And then independent for a couple of years. And then I went to work for Rocky Paulson at Stage Rigging as the national sales manager.
Oh,
and
interesting.
Yeah. And I mean, it was good, but it was a Freeman, it was owned by Freeman at the time. I was the only stage person in Las Vegas. Everything else was in California.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's fine. It was just a little too much convention work for me.
Yeah.
But, and it was, half ton, 1 ton, 12-inch, 20.5 inch, it just, and then, so I did that for a couple of years, and Paul Weller came and recruited me to help him revive Morpheus.
Yeah. Which is really interesting. Like that was an interesting play because Morpheus, obviously had several lives, and so this was sort of, I don't know if you call it the last life or the second last one or whatever it was, but this was near the end, but sort of a rebirth, right? Yeah. And so were you there during the whole Ayrton thing, like when Ayrton happened there, and you were a part of that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We were, they were still looking to manufacture some stuff, and we were doing like a color changer for I can't remember the name of it was a arc source ellipsoidal. Can't remember the name of it. Anyway, we were, building stuff like that. Bob Fry had finished the Panabeam XL or whatever we called it, but it was a wash light that continuously panned and tilted with a 1200 watt source, but the manufacturing, it was, that was pretty much it for
I think I remember you guys were showing that in like a little black box at LDI or something, and hey, psst, come over here, look at this thing, one of those.
Still selling color changers. Those were still at the time.
I know.
There were still plenty of theaters and cruise ships that needed them.
Well, Morpheus was on top of that world. I mean, like, they definitely did that one right.
And that's the thing when having worked for both the companies, if Morpheus would have had Vari-Lite's management early on, they would have been world beaters.
Yeah, they had better technology.
Oh,
they had better technology. Morpheus were brilliant on the technology side, but just didn't know how to run a company.
First rotating gobo and all that, all the everything how do we do everything today mounted in GT? Morpheus was about that in the 80s,
packaging,
doing that whole packaging thing, and that's for touring now. I mean, that's the main, that's one of the main things you got to do is how small can you fit that big rig into? How few trucks.
Well, even shops, like I'm starting to see shops without road cases in them now. I don't know what you guys do, but I've seen so many shops recently where lights are mounted in either racks or trusses.
Well,
So
OSA, we have a case company called MT Cases in
okay,
Chicago. So
MT
we're
cases.
still using cases.
Yeah. Cases are good.
Cases are
Cases
good.
not bad. Cases good. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's funny. Yeah.
Uh,
But no, I've seen like I never in my life thought I would see lighting companies that have no cases, but
yeah.
I've seen a few of them. Like who did I see recently? Was it Volt who has no
Yeah.
flight cases at
Yeah.
all? Yeah.
They have some, but I mean, a lot of their
Barely.
stuff
Yeah, barely any.
travels
Yeah.
in that.
Yeah.
It's just a whole. That's another way how the whole thing has changed.
Yeah.
Back at Obie's, we used to put 6-lamp par bars into road cases,
Yeah.
2 par bars into a road case. I mean,
Yeah.
they were massive,
Yeah.
right? 7 foot long and probably 3 or 4 feet wide. Just huge cases to protect the par cans. Now you wouldn't even think twice. Throw them in a
But
rack and be done.
the economics of all of it have changed so much because now you like back then you didn't have 1,000 moving lights on a show,
No.
whereas now
Mm-mm.
that's pretty common, 1,000
Yeah.
moving lights on a show. And so,
That was
yeah,
one of the things we did that we did at Morpheus was tried to repurpose the flip box truss, the swing wing
yeah,
for modern, because it was built specifically for the Panabeam and Panaspot fixtures. We wound up redoing it and retooling it so that you could hang a center pipe in it and hang modern fixtures in it.
yeah,
It still worked pretty good, but that's the square truss just made difficult.
yeah, yeah.
You had to have all the specialty stuff to you just don't grab a cheese burrow and stick something on it.
Well, plus when
But
you're a competitive lighting company and you're trying to sell truss as well or whatever, like I don't know, GT Truss seems to have done very well, or Tyler Truss,
Tyler,
but they've done very well and they've basically done what people have asked them to do. They've built products that people wanted,
yeah, yep.
and but Morpheus was always like that. Like the company before and during you were innovators.
Yeah.
So who or how did the whole Ayrton thing happen?
So Paul Weller was at so the manufacturing thing. We're looking for something else, right? Because we needed to boost sales and that, and we
Yeah.
didn't have a lot of modern equipment. First thing I did when I got there was bought like 24 VL 2500s or whatever they were, and because they had no modern, all they had was the Panabeam and Panaspots,
Yeah.
and they were garbage by that point.
So
Just old.
your general thought was, we got to focus on being a rental company and worry a little bit less about whose brand is on the fixtures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Paul found this company called Ayrton over at Pro Light and Sound in Frankfurt, had a little booth set up, and they were interesting because they were the first one that we saw that didn't have, the Skittles LED lights.
Yeah.
They actually had, the
Blended,
diode kind of
homogenized.
Yeah. It was a 500C Wild Sun 500.
Yeah.
I think was a fixture. And their sales guy at the time, that he brought over a number of fixtures of different things that they had to show us because they had no U.S. representation at the time.
Right. Yeah.
And poor Valaire, who is unfortunately not with us anymore, but
yeah.
he came to Las Vegas in July to show his wares and about melted.
Yeah. I don't want to do business
France.
Here. Yeah. Yeah.
But, and we liked what we saw, and we showed it to Jeff Ravitz, and Ravitz liked it, so we wound up buying them because Springsteen was getting ready to go back out, and we wound up getting those specified for, the Springsteen rig for the wash lights and replacing the fader beams, I guess it was.
Yeah.
And so that was the start. And then shortly, and within the next year or two, is when they came out with the Magic Panel.
Yeah.
And that
thing was a rock star.
That made, I mean, that was and it was kind of like being at Vari-Lite again, right? It
Yeah.
was everybody wanted them. Everybody, it was so new and interesting in the rotation and all the stuff that it did. Everybody had to have them. So it was, it was
Yeah.
cool. It was,
Yeah.
and I think we were kind of responsible because, like at LDI, everybody had gotten away from doing the big show and the demos and that, and just,
Yeah.
hey, here it is on the stand. If you want it, I'll bring it to your shop in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
We did a wall of the
I remember it.
of the magic panels,
Yeah.
and it forced everybody to start doing shows again because
Yeah.
you could not get near that booth.
Yeah.
I mean,
You're right.
and so it was
That was fun.
and then,
that had to be fun for a minute.
It was great. I mean, I was reborn,
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was just Paul, Keith Bennett, and myself selling those things.
Wow.
We sold a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Right? We were basically the ones pitching it all over the U.S. And fortunately, because of my TV, the stuff I'd done for television, I knew a bunch of TV LDs, and we were able to get them in front of a lot of important eyes and on television and that. And as the Ayrton brand grew, we kept sorry,
it's all good.
We kept introducing the new, the more stuff they came out with. Every year ACT would be pitching.
Yeah. You need a
would
real
be pitching
distributor.
Ayrton to take the
Yeah.
distributorship, and they finally got it.
Yeah. Yeah. It was inevitable. When you got
it was just
a $200 million distributor on one side and, a rock and roll lighting company on the other side at some point. Well, and I think probably being bought by Golden Sea and becoming more corporate and all of those things.
Well, they had, there was I can't remember his last name. Michael. He used to be the rep for MA.
Oh, okay,
and went to work for Ayrton. So then that was a natural, bridge there.
Made sense. Yeah.
So that went away, and that
hurt.
Yeah.
That hurt bad.
And we were still doing stuff, but it was just, struggling a bit. And then they put Morpheus up for sale, and I was not wild about what was going on. And at that point, this was in 2019. I'd been there since 2005. So I had spent 14 years there.
Yeah, that's a long time.
And then OSA International was the rest of the building that Morpheus was in. We were the first 2 suites.
Oh, really?
And then OSA had the rest of it.
I had no idea that's how that worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, when one of the Vari-Lite offices we had early on was at the other end of the building from OSA.
That's crazy.
In a different location. It's
you
just
must
weird
like
how
that building,
worked.
Mark.
I guess.
Yeah.
But so then Mario made me an offer, and I literally took my little refrigerator and stuff in my office, a box of stuff on a two-wheeler, went out in my office and down
That's
the
hilarious.
sidewalk and into my new office and went to work for
That
OSA.
is wild. That's crazy.
And I started because of LDI. I was planning on taking a couple of weeks, relax, blah, blah. But LDI, so I started sooner than I wanted so that Mario and I could, because OSA had no lighting. Well, a couple of, they had like a dozen movers and some Pars and Lecos.
Yeah.
And one guy, for corporate event stuff. But
it was an audio company.
Total audio company. It's now almost 40 years old as an audio company. It started in Chicago.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, it's 15 years ago or something. I don't remember the exact date that Mario bought Media Solutions, which was a video company here in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And brought that in. And then so he needed the lighting portion, and
So the plan was you were going to go to LDI and build a lighting company, basically.
And that's what we did,
Huh.
you know.
That's awesome.
And we went out and
A
bought
a
whatever,
lot
$3
of
million
stuff.
worth of gear because,
Yeah.
you know, I told them you can buy a company or you can start from scratch. When you start from scratch, every nut, bolt, shackle, you got to buy, you know.
Yeah.
So the good part is everything we own is new,
Yeah.
especially with the 2-year hiatus that
Yeah.
happened right
Yeah,
after we bought
that
that
was
stuff.
pretty screwed up timing, wasn't
Oh,
it? Like buy all that
it
shit, it's not even delivered yet and you're shut down.
it
Yeah.
was brutal. I mean,
Yeah.
that was rough.
Yeah.
And you know, fortunately, we the LED and the video team came up with a virtual, you know, studio that wasn't like the VR stuff that some people built. This is more like a TV studio, and we did a bunch of you know, virtual shows where we would send out, you know, because nobody wanted to touch anything, you know. So we'd send a laptop to, or you didn't want anybody in their house or something. So we'd send a laptop with a headset and a light to the CEO of whatever company, and with
Oh, for their
labels on
corporate
it,
meeting
plug,
or
plug,
whatever.
plug. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Oh,
here's
wow.
a box with a label. Send us back the laptop. Keep the light in the headset, and you know
That's
that was
nuts.
going through all that, and it was busy. It's called Concertada.
Hmm.
Um, that was what, you know, helped keep the company floating during
Yeah.
that time period.
Yeah.
Because
That had
man,
to hurt him though. The owner
oh
Mario, is it? Yeah.
yeah, Mario Educate.
That had to hurt.
Oh, it was
Because you spend
brutal.
all that money, the bill's probably coming due at the same time that your food supply's shutting off.
Yeah. Well,
Oh my God. What
he's
a
got some.
shit show, that whole COVID thing. I'm still
Oh.
angry. I'm still angry
Well, and
about
it's
it.
like you think. Yeah, I think back. It's like next month I'll be here 5 years,
Yeah.
and you know, year and a half of that was basically
Yeah.
nothing.
Sitting on your
Just
thumbs,
yeah,
talking
you
to
know,
me every
calling,
Wednesday.
yeah, talking to you
Yeah.
and just calling people and making sure that, you know, they're still alive and stuff. You know,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah. It
rough.
sucked.
And then, you know, and unfortunately we had a record first quarter that
Ugh.
year, and then it
And then
went
nothing.
from
And then a
that to
record second quarter.
yeah,
Yeah.
the
Worst
wrong
quarter,
way.
best quarter, worst
Yeah,
quarter. Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
That's
it
nuts.
was
It's funny that the whole buying a whole new department sort of thing. Before, like when they were in their temporary business or building, I went up and visited Haskell and Cosmo at Gateway,
hmm
and walking through their building was eerie because it was just like everything was new. Like half the light fixtures didn't have plugs on the ends, and
yeah,
everything
yeah,
smelled like a new road case because it
yeah.
was. All the cable was
That,
brand new. I was like,
that's
you
what I
gotta.
say.
I've
You get a
never
system
seen.
from us, you get that new car smell.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and that was what Gateway was too. Like literally everything in their building was
Yeah,
brand new. Sound, lighting, video, all of it, right?
yeah. It's
And
insane.
yeah,
And that's
but fun as hell because you've got all brand new gear, but obviously not something you could do every day. It's very expensive. It's yeah,
but
it's
it's, you
tough.
know, we've we have the nice thing is, well, the good and the bad. You know, you get somebody, just give me some beat up stuff. I want to, you know, just take this out for 3 weeks and that, you know,
Yeah.
I got nothing for you. Everything
Yeah.
I got is new and shiny, and the way Mario wanted to build the company, it's all high end. It's
Yeah.
not there's not
Did you have
we
any
don't own any junk.
Did you have any situations where you bought something and then it sat still for a year and a half and then you went, wait a second, you're launching a new version and we haven't even taken this out of the box yet?
Well, yeah, kinda. We actually had a situation, and I give Roby credit for taking care of this. We had bought all this stuff. All we we bought spiders, esprits, and mega points.
Yeah.
That was the start. You know, the basic start
It's
of
a
the
good package.
yeah
Although there's now an eye spider and an
yeah
eye esprit and
everything,
yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Um, but the foam, the injected foam for the cases. it wasn't just us. Other people discovered that apparently they had done an improper mix of the stuff that fills the filler for the foam,
Yeah.
and it was outgassing. And the outgassing was like making, like, we had
People were sick or what?
well, no, the lights got sick. We had like
Oh,
spiders that looked like they'd been sitting out in the sun for all summer. They'd like
wow.
turned kind of white in that, and you could see degradation in the LEDs and everything.
Ooh.
And to Roby's credit, they replaced the entire inventory because we had
Wow.
just bought it. I mean, it barely had any hours on it,
Yeah.
and because of that, they wound up replacing all of the gear. So
Oh, wow.
kudos to Roby for that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's cool. That's
yeah.
cool. So, so now you're there. Now you're at
Mhm.
OSA, and so what was the desire to build a lighting company onto OSA? Was it because clients are packaging more and clients want a single source more? Was that what drove it, or was it just wanting to go wider and bigger, or
Well, yes,
yeah,
all of
all
it.
of that. Yeah.
I mean, they like people like writing one check,
Yeah.
but the I think honestly Mario was tired of sub-renting
Yeah.
packages
I
from
understand that.
companies
Yeah.
and writing that check. So, and you can control it better this way.
Yeah.
You have your own people, we have, your own gear. We know what it is, we know, and to his credit, man, we've got a badass lighting department.
Yeah.
The people
Yeah.
that we have and the gear that we have has been really good.
So is the majority of your clientele there corporate?
Yeah, we do quite a bit of corporate, but we've done a lot more touring now.
Really?
Since I came in, of course, I had touring clients that I brought in. You know, it's kind of funny. For years, they had like Paul Anka and David Foster. And then the first tour I put out was Korn. So when you're touring,
A little
your
bit different.
clients are
Yeah.
David
We need
Foster
more subs.
to Korn.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to need more subs.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny.
But,
Corn.
and then we have, we've brought on Bobby Allen is now part of the team here. And so, more touring for that. We're doing,
Very cool.
these days we're doing Bocelli, and
Wow.
we do Limp Bizkit. Who else do we do this summer? Oh, we did Peter Frampton, which
Fun. That'd be a blast.
Man, I went and saw this past tour. He wasn't going to go out again. Then he went out for like 3 or 4 more weeks and
Yeah.
called it the Positively Thankful Tour. So I
Yeah.
went to the last show in Cleveland then, and that was the last show they were doing before he came back for his Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was that, the crowd, him, whatever. It was musically one of the best shows
Really?
I had seen in a very, very long time. He's got some health issues now, and he has to sit down and play. He
Yeah.
can't
I
stand
saw
up.
that. It's sad.
But
Yeah.
the whole band sits, and but they were just, I mean, the playing that night from everyone was just unbelievable. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen a few of the shows, the tour, and that,
Yeah.
and it was just knocked my socks off.
Yeah.
Last time I saw something like that, this was, one of the best bands I ever musically went out with was Toto.
Yeah.
And
Toto.
I said,
I mean, Steve Lukather is a musical genius, and he's like the musical director of Toto. And okay, you're gonna do this. And I mean,
yeah,
he's such a perfectionist and stuff. Like I've seen some of that stuff happen, and he's amazing.
that was back when Jeff Porcaro was still alive, and
Yeah.
and they were just great guys. He was, speaking of Porcaro, Lukather, I got to go to Japan with them.
Yeah.
And we were sitting in some bar just getting hammered one night.
When was this?
Oh, this has been like 85,
Oh, okay,
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were huge, and they were bigger in Japan than they are here.
Yeah.
It was. I mean,
Few
we'd get
bands
off
are
of a
like
train
that.
because we travel with the band. We'd get off a train, and there'd people at the train station waiting for them.
That's
and stuff.
wild. Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Fun. Yeah.
But we're sitting there one night, and and he had messed up a lick. You know, these guys, they're all such great studio musicians. Every night was like listening to the album.
Yeah.
And he had screwed up a lick. And what? So what do you do when you screw up a lick like that? How, he goes, I do it twice, and then they think I meant it. And I went, oh man, that's words to live by.
That's
Right?
awesome. Yeah, that is so good.
Yeah. Yeah, he was, so work with a lot of cool bands and stuff. But
so the touring thing, was that all you? Like when you went in there, or you said they were already doing? I think you
they
said
had
Paul
some,
Anka.
but I mean, I've
that's not real touring.
No, well,
that's not real.
Yeah, but
touring.
it's consistent. It's been going on for years.
True, huh? That's true.
You know, we actually at Vari-Lite we had an anchor rig of this set of lights that were only used for Paul Anka. It was like these 24 prototype lights that was the anchor rig, and that's what they got saved for.
Yeah,
probably gave them for a deal because that's
So you'd rather have one Paul Anka than 10 Nickelbacks, right?
Yeah. Well,
no, I'm just kidding.
I don't think so.
Nickelbacks had a pretty good run too. yeah. Wrong choice of words, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bands that are hot today and not around for a while.
But so the touring presence has expanded, and we have it's a anytime you have a business that is rental, as this, man, it is not for the faint heart because it is a cash eating monster.
It really
because
is.
Everything, especially when you got audio and video. Lighting you can get some length out of, but as soon as that next best widget comes along for video, or the next best thing for audio,
well, and video just keeps going. Like we're at what now, 0.9 mil or something.
Yeah.
But and audio, like every time I turn around, I'm sure that they're announcing now the L rig or whatever, right? And it's like, come on, guys! Like I'm not even done paying for the J, and now you're up to L, and what the hell are you doing? Like they're in a sense they've become worse than lighting, where everybody's ragging on Elation or Ayrton for coming out with new fixtures, but at least they're sensitive to the issue that this fixture cost you $8 or $9 grand. You need some time to make that money back.
Little ROI.
The sound system's $2.5 million or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're coming out with a newer model a year later, and the hot shows are going to want that newer model.
Yeah. Well, we now own PK Audio.
Oh yeah,
which
PK
is
Sound, from Calgary, my hometown.
Yeah.
And
it's got it's automated.
Yeah. I saw the demo in the showroom, and so to me, it almost felt like being a Vari-Lite guy standing in that showroom when the lights moved and going, like everything changed. You're never going to want stationary lights anymore. And I got that same feeling when I saw the PK system in the showroom in Calgary with Jeremy, the CEO, because I have a house up there. I have a house in Banff. And so last year, 2 years ago, he invited me into their showroom to come see this stuff. And I was actually the one who connected them to Ben at ACT. So the fact that ACT is their distributor now is my fault.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So, but my mind was blown instantly when I saw that. For me, as soon as I saw the system move like that, I was like, why would you want a system that you can't do that with?
Yeah, exactly.
But
so we put it out on Dave Chappelle
special.
last year, and I mean it went up lightning fast.
Yeah.
Right. You hang it. None of the jacking around that they got to do.
Yeah.
All done from the pad. From the iPad.
It's incredible. It's incredible. Well, and I can see a day, and I was talking with Jeremy about this last year. I can see, and I'm sure they're planning this, where, you don't do any calculations ahead of time. You just hang the same rig in every situation. And once you're in the room, you just say, calibrate the room. Boom, go.
Yep,
and
done.
It does it all using AI and some automation and stuff. And there you go. But that stuff is cool. I forgot you guys are like the big PK guys right now in the country.
Yeah. Plus we got L acoustics,
Yeah.
It's he's Mario's big on keeping having the good stuff.
Yeah.
That's
Well, hey.
we're not going to be the cheapest guys on the
Yeah.
block, but we're going to
Yeah.
have the coolest toys.
You know what though? You get known for that. Like you get known for being the coolest toys. Everyone knows who's got the junk and who's got the real stuff. And when you got a junk budget, sometimes you got to go to the junk guys. And when you got a good budget, you go to the ones you really want.
That's what I'm saying. I've had people come to me like that. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't.
Yeah.
I don't have it.
Yeah.
We're too new. I don't have any old stuff to give you.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, when we started this process, we sat down with Mario. How do you want to do this? Do you want to, we could do the Elation, Chauvet, lower end stuff.
Yeah.
Their stuff's fine.
Nothing wrong with it. Yeah.
No. And maybe get 2 to 1.
Yeah.
Or do you want to stay with the high end and the name brand stuff?
Yeah.
Name brand.
Yeah.
Nope. We want the name brand. And that's the way he's built the company. So it's cool.
It's funny that you're saying Elation and Chauvet are not the name brand stuff when if you go to LDI, like I remember my days at LDI in the early 90s and stuff, Martin and High End were the two big companies. Vari-Lite was obviously big, but they didn't do big booths at LDI. But Martin and High End, we were battling like maniacs and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on these booths. And Elation and Chauvet were tiny little, these tiny sort of offshore companies over in the corner, right? And now it's the opposite. Now they're massive, Chauvet and
I mean,
Elation.
we own some of each of it. There's certain things that we've bought into in that.
Yeah.
But and like I said, not knocking anybody's product. It's just everybody's stuff is good these days. It's the gear. I mean, look, I came from the days of the Vari-Lite hospital.
Yeah.
Okay. Where,
it's funny how well they hid that stuff, though. Unless you were on the inside, you didn't know like what you didn't know, right? And I've had many Vari-Lite guys on here who have told me stories about rebuilding fixtures in the middle of shows and stuff.
Yeah, it was. I mean, when I started there, that was one of the reasons I got hired, because I was, I had my electrical technology degree. I could actually fix stuff. And back then, like when you had a VL1 rig out, you had to like solder things and, replace components and that to fix your gear.
Yeah.
So you had to know kind of what you were doing. And, now it's just swap the boards. Even the newer, once I went to the Series 200 stuff, all that went out the window here. Swap a new board, send it back, we'll fix it.
Yeah.
So, but that's how it has evolved, from when you had to be a real technician to now.
100%. Well, now, so speaking of Ayrton, I was at the Ayrton factory, or not the factory, their office in France a couple of years ago. And I was talking to one of their engineers, and I hadn't seen the inside of a moving light since probably I left, Coamar or something when we had Coamar. But it's been a while. It's been 15 years or something, more maybe, since I saw the inside of a moving light. And so he opened up a fixture, and I was blown away by, first of all, how much shit they're putting in there now.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God, they pack a lot into these little fixtures.
Yep.
And I said, okay, so what breaks? And this French engineer looks at me and goes, excuse me? And I said, what breaks? And he goes, but what do you mean? And I said, well, something breaks in this thing. And let's say I live on I'm taking them to a remote island, and I want enough stuff to keep the shit working for 6 months or whatever. What do I need to bring with me? And he goes, I see what breaks. Yes. Nothing.
It's funny you say that, because, and the Morpheus is bringing, they introduce a new light.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. We're going to take 100 of them, whatever we were doing. All right.
Yeah.
And then we want so much spare parts. What do you mean?
What parts?
well, for
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, and this was a foreign concept to them, and because especially when you're building in China, if you're building 500 units, They
Yeah.
build 500. They don't build
Yeah.
500 with a 10% overrun for
Yeah.
spare parts.
True. Yeah.
You get 500 lights, and we used to have to gut new lights to replace
Yeah.
parts under
True.
warranty,
True. Yeah. Yeah.
because
So
that was just not a concept that they
he
understood.
he basically finally told me, a main board and maybe a couple of motors, but that's about it. Like, you don't really need much more than that. But my point that I'm making is, and I've said this 1,000 times on this podcast, but young kids these days don't know how good they have it because everything is good. I don't care what fixtures are showing up at a show.
Yep.
They're 100 times better than the VLs or Morpheus stuff that you used to work on, or the Martin
Yep.
stuff that I used to sell, or even the high-end stuff I used to sell. It was good at the time, but if you compare any old high-end fixture, a Studio Color or Studio Spot, to anything from Ayrton or anything from Robe or anything from any of the companies, even Elation and Chauvet and all of these companies today, no comparison.
Yeah.
It's just so much better.
The manufacturing processes have become so good that, it's
also,
it's what it needed to happen, though.
It's LEDs too, because
absolutely.
You remove the heat, you remove 80% of the problems,
But, that's the thing. That's a fallacy now. I mean, we were looking at a light the other day, 1,800 watt LED.
That's 1,800 watts. 1,800 watts is 1,800 watts.
Physics.
Yeah.
You still got to get rid of that heat. It's still got to do a process to generate that kind of output.
Well,
these things are drawing 9 amps now. So
this
much
is the
for
thing. Yeah, this is the thing that some people don't seem to understand is 1 watt equals 1 watt. So I don't care how bright it is. I don't care any of those things. 1 watt of energy equals X amount of heat, whether that watt is coming from a light bulb or an LED. It's still going to produce. And the problem with LEDs is LEDs don't like the heat coming back to the to the
into the chip.
Yeah, to the what do they call it, the where the chip is mounted to the board, the contact point or whatever, the contact temperature. They don't like to be more than whatever it is, 70 degrees C or something.
Right.
But but the thing is, again, like, you've got companies like this B-Topper and all these companies that I see on Facebook selling on Facebook Marketplace and stuff that, it's pretty low end, non-brand kind of Amazon lighting, right?
Right.
But that stuff's good. To use once or twice, it's great. It might not last very long. You wouldn't want to take it on tour, but it's good.
For your bar band, it's going to be fine.
Yeah. So on the topic of an interesting story, I remember you telling me once that you were actually at the Pepsi commercial shoot that MJ did.
Yeah, where his head caught on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was 80, 82. I can't remember exactly what year it was, but yeah, I was working for Obie. That's the first time I ever met Zeb.
Oh, wow.
He was
Mad
doing
scientist that he is, or was.
Yeah,
sorry.
Was. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he was doing what was it? It was one of those tube kind of moving lights, mirror. I can't remember the
telescans?
Yeah. He was running telescans on that. And
or Z-scans, one of the two.
Oh, yeah, it may have been Z-scan.
Yeah, I was talking to Brickman yesterday about the Z-scans.
Yeah. Another pioneer light.
Yeah.
I was running, there was the staircase that he was on, and I was on the side of the stage running the lights as he would come down the stairs. I would have to, bring up the lights as he's coming down the stairs. And they had done a couple of takes, and it was done 5 takes. Yeah, fine. And there's a trough of pyro at the top, big flame at the top of this. It was like a stairway to nowhere. That was it. It would have fallen off the back if you would have went any farther. And I think the director had changed the choreography a little bit, and we didn't know it. So Michael had made his move like he was coming down the stairs like he had in the other takes, but he told him to hold up there and the pyro guy fired the flash, big trough of flash powder, and he was just in it when it went up. So it
Brutal.
just came, and I just saw this from the side, right? Went right up his back, and when he came out of it, the jerry curl or whatever the stuff that was in his hair caught fire, and by the time he got to the bottom of the stairs, his head's on fire, and they hit
Oh
the
my
brothers,
God.
in the and the security guys run up on stage, and I had been talking to Michael just before that happened, just before that take. But anyway, so it wasn't as bad as they made it to be. Apparently, it was like a, maybe $50 size burn on the top of his head and that. But he was okay.
Yeah.
But the interesting part about that was George Travis was the production manager on that, and Michael's security team comes charging into the production office. Where is the pyro man at?
Oh no.
Because that was he was the hottest thing literally on the planet right then, right?
Yeah.
And George, as soon as it happened, George had taken the pyro guy and put him in a closet and said, "Don't come out of here until I come and get you." So there was like three security guys are combing the building looking for the pyro guy.
Oh no.
And there's no doubt in my mind that George saved his life that day, because they would have killed him.
Wow.
There's no doubt in my mind. They would at least beat the shit out of him. Oh, sorry.
Wow. Oh,
But
you can say shit. We've had much worse on here. Trust me.
I'm sure.
I have had Wiseman on here like 3 times or something. So yeah.
Yeah.
No filter, John.
No.
That's a crazy story. Did you know at the time, like, this is going to be something that I'm going to be talking about 40 years from now?
No, I mean, how things happen on a set. You don't, and you're part of it. You don't really think about it. There was 3,000 people in the audience that saw it happen.
Yeah.
Right. So it wasn't like a closed set or anything. So it was kind of weird. But
yeah.
I mean, at the time, and I guess that's the thing I've always, this is a job. I never really collected, a bunch of memorabilia or autographs or any of that stuff, because to me it was always a job, and I was just working.
Yeah.
That was just part of it.
Yeah.
And
That makes
so I
sense.
never really thought about, it. And then you hear people talk about it now like it's this thing that happened. And I guess it was, when you set the biggest pop star on the planet at the time on fire, that's
yeah, that's significant.
That's newsworthy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, imagine how he felt. The pyro guy, right? Like, how did he feel? Well,
yeah, but it wasn't his fault. Like I said, there was a change of direction that we never heard.
Yeah.
So we just did, because I hit my cue, he hit his cue, everybody else, all the other lighting, because he was making his move down that stair, and then he stopped. And that was the thing.
Yeah.
If he would have just kept going like he had the other takes, would never happen. But he had asked him for more. I want a bigger flame for that. So
you got it.
Yeah,
you got the bigger flame. Wow. Yeah. That is a crazy story. I don't know if you noticed, but my internet's going crazy. So I had to share with you. I just did a speed test, so I've got 4 Mbps when I normally have like a gigabit. So that's what I was telling you earlier. You go from a gigabit to like 0 to a gigabit to 4. So yeah, we've had some struggles on this podcast because of it, but because of the way we recorded, it's going to be all smooth at the end.
Yeah, there you go.
So you're married still, presumably?
Oh yeah.
And you have kids and I think grandkids now?
Oh, yeah. They're fun. Man, I have 3 daughters, and, raised 3 daughters in Las Vegas. And
oh, boy.
Have you heard that Chris Rock routine about your duty as a father is to keep your daughter off the pole?
Yeah.
We kept ours off the pole.
Good for you. In Las Vegas. Las Vegas, nonetheless.
All of them got advanced degrees. They're all teachers of elementary. One's a PhD teaching up in Reno, and the other's teaching nursing. She's an NP who's now teaching nursing. And then 2 of them I got a 3-year-old granddaughter and a 2-year-old granddaughter, and then we got expecting a grandson here within the next couple weeks.
Is there no
And
male DNA in you anywhere, or what the hell is
guess
the deal here, Mark?
that's punishment for being on the road.
Yes, you will have all girls.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, but I was in a rock band for a number of years, and so I probably didn't deserve the one son that I got. So.
Oh, but he's a race car driver, man. If I could come back, that is what I would do.
Yeah, that's what I would do too if I could afford two of us.
Yeah.
I can hardly afford one of us, trust me.
Yeah.
I had Donnie Ladico on the podcast a few weeks ago, and we were comparing notes because he's got his kid in go-karts. And I'm like, hold my beer, man. Wait till you move up from go-karts to cars, Donnie.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we're not going to do that. Neither were we. But we did. So,
what next?
Yeah.
But wait, there's more.
It happens.
So,
it just happens.
So then we got 2 more on the way. So
fun.
So
you'll have 5 grandkids.
No, 4. Two daughters now. We'll have another son and a grandson and a granddaughter within the next 2 months.
Oh, so you do have a boy coming.
Yeah.
There you
finally.
go. Finally.
Yeah, he's due within the next couple weeks.
Well, he's going to be spoiled by granddad Mark.
You think?
Yeah. Grandpappy Mark.
There's, I don't know if the girls will want the Corvette, but there'll be a shiny 2001 Z06 waiting for him when he turns 16. So
there you go.
We'll see how that works.
There you go. My son would take that car from you. He'd scrub your floors for the next 5 years for that. He doesn't like the C8. He likes the C6.
Oh, okay. Yeah, mine's a C5, but yeah.
Yeah, I know, but he'd love a C5 Z06 if it was clean enough. He goes C6. He goes C6 just because, most of the C5s, he prefers the C5 actually.
Yeah. It was the first one with modern technology, really.
Yeah. I had
it's fun.
I had Corvettes right up until C6s. I never bought a C7. By then I had moved on to like Audis and stuff, and I just noticed that they didn't rattle as much and they didn't make as many funny noises and stuff, albeit a little bit more expensive, but But, I still keep saying I'm going to go back to another vet. I've had like 10 of them. I've had 10 vets, I think.
This is the only one. That vet was my gift to me for getting the 3 girls through college. I took care of their undergrad stuff, any of the grad stuff they did, but I went, okay. And once the last one moved out of the house, about a month later, the vet moved in. So
you probably thought, holy shit, I got money left. I better spend it quick before somebody has a kid.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Raising 3 daughters and putting them all through college and stuff. Good on you. God bless you. That's a big accomplishment. So
they're great. I love them. They're really good kids.
Yeah.
So that's all you can hope for, really.
We mentioned it earlier, but Mark is going to be doing this thing that we're calling Dining with Dinosaurs at LDI, and it's on the 9th, on Monday the 9th, between 12:30 and 2 o'clock, and it includes lunch and stuff. You can get to it by registering at ldishow.com, I believe, and it's going to be cool. It's basically guys like Mark who have been in the business a long time and who have a lot of great stories to tell, and who have wisdom to pass on, which is a big, big deal. And that's what was the start of all of this, is we just did things differently back in the day than it's done today. And some of those lessons probably don't need to be passed on because they were dangerous or whatever. But some of
Fall
those
protection?
lessons...
What?
Yeah, some of those lessons do need to be passed on. So Mark is going to be part of that event, and we're very grateful to you coming and doing that. That'll be fun. It'll be a fun group of people too. You'll recognize everyone there. So we're getting new confirmations every day. One of them is a designer that you just brought up, Mr. Ravitz. He's coming as
he's
well.
Awesome.
So
great guy.
Yeah. Well, he was very good to Morpheus for so long, too. I mean, talk about loyalty, Jesus. Against all odds. Loyalty, that maybe wasn't even deserved at some times,
Yeah, but he and again, George Travis, they're very loyal to the people, and they wanted Todd Ritchie out there as the board op, and Brad, and that whole
It's
crew.
very
So
cool. It's very cool how long that run was with Jeff and Morpheus.
it was 20 some years.
Yeah, it's amazing. That just blows my mind how loyal that guy is, and I love Jeff. He's such a nice guy. So I look forward to seeing him in a few weeks, month, 2 months. I don't know how far it is.
Oh, that's great.
I'm
glad he'll be there.
Yeah, he'll be there. Well, I think I'm going to have to say goodbye to you just because I know my internet's going to die at some point completely, and then we've got a problem. So while I've actually got internet, I should end this thing. And I appreciate you coming and doing this, though, Mark.
It's fun.
Super cool to get to know you a little better, and certainly your company. So
it's just building another lighting company. It's kind of what I do.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you're slowing down now and you found a home and you're stuck there forever.
Yeah.
So,
At least a few more years.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. All right, Mark. Well, I'll see you at LDI and thanks for everything.
Hey, Marcel. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. This was a lot of fun.
Man. All right.
Enjoy it.
Cheers.
All right. Bye-bye.